Hey friends, Dawn here, welcoming you to the Soul Goals podcast and year number 3. This year, we are diving into expanding our perspectives, challenging our belief systems, and working the mental and emotional muscles of our souls. Though still all about growth and connection, this year finds opportunities to hear from people in our communities that have walked a path that might be different from our own, but that ultimately present us with the chance to look at a subject in a different light and learn other ways we could approach challenges in our own world. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals podcast. My name is Dawn. So glad to have you joining us for yet another week with some wonderful guests. And my guest today is my good friend, Hoss Peterson, hailing from Wyoming originally, but now just down the road, Nashville, Tennessee. Love that. How are you today?
Doing very well, Don. How have you been?
I've been great. Very busy. And I know there's a lot going on in your world. So much happening. Like whose world is there not a lot going on in?
True
Let's be
story.
honest,
True
right?
story.
Right. Right. But I'm so glad you're on today. And just to kind of catch folks up, if you are new to the podcast, this is year number 3 for the Soul Goals podcast. And what we are doing in year number 3 is having guests on each week speaking about a different subject that they have experience in an effort to maybe open up your box, your perspective, maybe lessen judgment around that subject, maybe hear something that you hadn't really thought about where that subject is and concerning. And today I wanted Hoss to come on and talk about the issue, or rather the subject of step parenting. And maybe I should say issue because there's issues that come up with that. There's challenges that come up with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I wanted him to share his experience walking through that. But let me kind of introduce you officially, because
Right.
Hoss is not only just a step parent, just not an amazing stepdad, but he also is an author. If you're watching on YouTube, you will see this wonderful book I'm holding up. It's called Welcome to the Jungle, a sailor's memoir of service aboard the USS Fresno. So
Yep.
Hoss was a U.S. Navy vet, and you joined the Navy right out of high school. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually joined between my junior and senior year of high school. I was delayed enlisted for a year, and I went to boot camp a week after my 18th birthday, about a month after I
Wow.
graduated. Yeah, so it was you're done, you're out, you're gone, and down the road we went.
Wow. Did you know you wanted to do that?
I knew that I wanted to. I thought about joining the military. My dad was Navy, and granddads were Navy, and didn't think I was going to have money for college. And then my junior year, the Navy band came to town. I was a band kid, and I was like, man, I want to be in the Navy band. So I went over, talked to the recruiter, everything done, and I get to the processing station in Denver, and the guy, I'm like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want you to be in the band. He's like, did you pass the audition?
Oh,
What? I didn't know there was
an
an audition.
audition?
So I'm like, no. He said, but we've got this other program. And basically what it was, I did 2 years on active duty and 4 years reserve. They gave me money for college. In 1990, $18,000 was a lot of money for college. University of Wyoming was $680 a semester. So
Yeah.
if I'd have finished college in 4 years, it would have paid for all of it. But I was on the enhanced plan in college. Took me a little.
You know what? Same, Haas. I think that's why we're kindred spirits. I didn't graduate college till 2016. I had to go back and finish. Yeah.
I spent 7.5 years and I was there the whole time, kind of.
Well, that's great. We'll talk about that the next podcast episode.
We're done now.
We'll dive into that one later. But
Yeah.
also, I wanted to say you're listening to Haas's voice. He has the smoothest voice. I love listening to your talk. We got to know you because our families are friends and our children were friends in high school and even in elementary, going to the same school.
Yes.
And met your wife years ago through the children, obviously, and through the school. And then obviously we got to know you. You share this love of history. And I swear you and my husband talk about kindred spirits. I think you totally you're together. Like, I feel like when we go on vacation, and I know your wife can relate to this.
Yeah.
We go on vacation and we see a historical placard. My husband is going to dig his heels into concrete and stop the truck. And we're stand there and we're going to learn history and he's going to read about it and he's going to, that's his love. And I think you two need to go on vacation together and
Yeah,
do that.
we've actually, honestly, we've talked about going up to the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio together.
Do it. You
But
do it. Yes.
whenever we do a family vacation, I always get one day, and they know we're going to a museum or we're going to. And my son, when he was younger, was always like, "Do we have to learn today?" At least one day you have to a little.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
We
not
went
bad.
to New Orleans a few years ago, and I just let them go for a day to go shop, whatever. I went to the World War II Museum and spent 8 hours just enthralled reading everything I could. And we got back together afterwards, and they're like, "Did you have a good time?" I'm like, "Yeah, did you have a good time?" "Yeah, all right, we're going on."
Okay. So it worked. It's
It
perfect.
did. It did.
Yeah. And also one more thing before we dive into the subject of step parenting, I want to mention that that Haas is a cancer survivor. Literally back, you said since June of 2024, you have been to over 130 doctor's appointments up until
About
this point.
115, yeah, 113, somewhere in there. Yeah, I've been living in the doctors for the last year or so, but everything's clear, everything's no cancer, no everything. So we're moving on as scheduled. We just paused life for about a year, and now here we
Yeah.
go.
Well, you do what you got to do. And I'm so glad you're healthy and you're well and you're on the track to living your life to the fullest degree that you can. I love that.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the step parenting thing and
Okay.
how difficult it is. Let's start at the beginning, like your journey to becoming a step parent. When you first met your wife, Renee, and this is before you were married, you
Right.
obviously knew that she had kids probably because if you
Yes.
think about it, like this is a second phase of life for both of you. It was a second marriage for both of you. And
Yes.
so there were children involved all the way along the course because of your life before. So I mean, obviously, if you think about you were a dad already, but here's the deal. Like becoming a father or becoming involved with someone that has their own children, how how was that for you? What did that feel like to you? Was that something that was like, I'm a little daunted about that. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Or like, hey, I want to know your kids. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, when I met Renee, I actually was coaching the softball team that her daughter was on, and Renee was our team mom. That's how I met her. Uh,
Wait, I didn't know that,
uh-huh.
Haas.
We were both going through a divorce at the same time, basically.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I met her, and she was great. She was this funny, really cool gal, and we met. And I love her daughter was an awesome. Her daughter won our Future Star Award, and years later went on to be a all region softball player, et cetera, et cetera. But I knew when she was 5 years old that this kid was awesome.
Yeah.
But we actually didn't. It was about 4 months later that we started talking about anything, and kind of got together and decided that maybe this was be something. But the thought of being a step parent really never entered into my mind. About I was raised by a step parent. My parents were
Okay.
divorced when I was 3, and my
Okay.
dad remarried, and he and my stepmom got married when I was 5. So I
Uh-huh.
grew up with a step parent, and she never treated me any different. Like she always told me, she said, I've always got room for more. So there's always room in my heart for more. I'm never going to
Well,
exclude anybody. I will accept. I'm not going to exclude. And she was mom,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so when it came time for me to step into that role, it was never a question for me. It was just, that's what we do, and we're here, and here are these two awesome kids, and they, they're looking at me. I'm the adult here. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so yeah, let's do this. Let's go to things. Let's do things. I'm not going to replace their dad because I'm not their dad, but I'm going to be their bonus dad,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do that job as the best I can.
Well, how interesting that is that you came from a step parent situation yourself, that you had a stepmom.
Hmm.
And I love that. Accept, not exclude.
Yeah.
That's what she would say to you.
Yep.
Well, isn't that wonderful? Like she really, I mean, that's such a gift for a child to hear in that
Yep.
position, I believe. So
Yep.
it sounds to me like the script was already kind of an innate thing for you. It just made sense. It's you're like, okay, yeah, this is what we do.
I really think so. And I got to see how my birth mom reacted to that. And
Mhm.
you get to see both what to do and what not to do. And some of her reactions were not exactly what I would have chosen to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I just kind of always had that in mind when working with the kids was, I don't want him to ever think like I am somebody who's not supporting them, not behind them.
Yeah.
And we went to everything. Kids spell love Time. So I went to every ball game, every school function, I actually got fired because I went to a award show once. But
What?
well, the boss asked where I was like, well, I took my lunch break early and I went to an award show. Well, you weren't where I thought you were going to be, so I'm not going to do long story.
Oh,
We just
wow.
told
Well,
them
but
they worked for a company, so that was their deal.
right. But here's the thing that it's spelled Time. That's
Mhm.
what that meaningful thing. I love that. I
Yeah,
read something about that the other day, and someone was talking about the things they wish they would have known when they were 30 years old or 35 years old as a parent versus as 55 years old as a parent. And I mean, hindsight is always what it is. And that's how I think we learn is by going through those experiences and maturing and aging in our own process.
yeah,
But I mean, how beautiful is that? Like it's so true. The time is the biggest thing I think that I've seen in it like contributing to my kids' lives in general.
yeah.
That's what I
I mean,
want.
we try to be as involved. I mean, I didn't miss a softball game. I didn't miss a basketball game. I didn't miss a football game. I didn't,
Mhm.
I I showed up late to some softball games and missed some home runs because my daughter hit leadoff. But
I
it
love
was. But that
that.
was the thing. It was like we got involved with the schools, and we got involved. I did things at the schools, and just being there, being a parent, letting those kids know you support them. It never crossed my mind that I was a step parent. Heck, I bet
Yeah.
90% of the other parents at the kids' schools that we went to had no idea that I wasn't their natural parent.
Yeah,
We
I
would
can
meet
see
people
that.
years later and they found out that I was a stepdad. They're like, really? We had no idea. Like,
No clue. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, tell me a little bit about obviously, so now that makes me aware that okay, well, this was just a normal way to proceed because
mhm.
you already had that experience, right? But were there ever any thoughts or fears around how am I going to do this? Am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Like, where's that line for me?
Yeah, they're at times the big one for me was I had somebody kind of set me down once, like it's in the discipline side
Oh,
where it's not really as a step parent, you can't really punish the child. I mean, you can guide them, but I just never felt it was my job to punish a kid. You're grounding or spanking or whatever. That's mom's job. I don't ever want to be in that role where I'm the evil stepdad. Um,
yeah.
but somebody said, don't give them a reason to shut you out,
Mhm.
but be supportive. And if mom lays down the law, you support mom, but
Right.
you're not the one to do that. So I kind of tried to follow that and just be a guiding influence and be a good example. And if there was punishment to be meted out, I got to push that off on my wife and say, "You be the bad person." I'm
Yeah. It's good cop, bad cop almost,
yeah,
right?
yeah, just about.
Yeah, yeah. How were they when you and Renee were moving forward with your relationship and you're like, "This is getting serious and this is where it's headed." When did you feel like they were like were they always like, "Hey, yeah, we love having him around," or was there any point where they were like, "I don't know really how I feel about this relationship because she's my mom and
Um,
I'm protective of her?"
um, Jack was kind of protective of his mom. I mean, he was 3. He was little.
Yeah.
Uh, and as we went along, I mean, he and I became friendly. Um, but there was never really any resistance. It was just we just kind of gave each other space, figured it out. I didn't push the issue. He didn't push. We were dating for 4 years before we got married. 3 years before
Wow.
we got married,
Yeah.
like 3 years, I guess.
Yeah.
And it just kind of grew naturally. Uh, I never really had with Paige. I never really had an issue. We were just kind of they called me Coach Hoss for the longest time. For the first couple of years, it was always Coach Hoss this, Coach Hoss that. That's how they knew me. It was this Paige's coach, and
Yeah.
it was just kind of odd to hear that tail off from Coach Hoss into just Hoss. And
Yeah.
I never got the dad. I got Hoss, which I'm fine with, 100%
Yeah.
fine with it. Now in later life, that word's come out a couple of times, and it breaks me up to hear it. I mean, I'm just
Oh,
water. Uh,
yeah.
but that's a very much an earned title. I mean, that's
Mm,
something that you don't get it because you demand it. You get it because you've earned it. And,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
kind of my whole philosophy with step parenting is you have to earn everything you get with them. You can't walk in and demand that they respect you and demand that they do this and it's you've got to earn what you get.
Yeah, you gotta do the work. You have to walk the walk, and I think just as much as you talked about time being such a big element for kids and
Mhm.
adults being in their world, I think too, like, they can see right through you.
Oh
Kids
yeah,
can see right through you, and if you are not being authentic and walking in a space of respect and kind of like you said a little bit ago, kind of giving space
hmm
to allow things to kinda unfold, I mean, that sets things up for a really bad situation, not just for your relationship, but for them personally as they're little people, and
yeah,
trying to figure out where they are in the world and how they fit into your life, how they fit into their mom's life now with having a step parent, with having her remarried and what that all looks like.
yeah.
I mean, think about that. What have been some of the challenges for you when they were little, when you got together initially, or even along the way when they were adolescents? And I know you talked about the discipline being a big thing. And I think that maybe we can talk a little bit about that because I feel like that's such a big piece for step parents that I wouldn't have thought about. Like as a parent to like blood parent to my girls, and me and my husband will both go to the mattresses to discipline our kids,
Yeah.
but I just don't think about that as a step parent. You brought up such a great point. You really have to be very, very cautious about that line and what you do. And how hard is that for you? Is that something that just comes naturally? Is that something that you feel very strongly about? And talk a little bit about the space and how you give that. And like, just knowing that you have so much invested in these people and you really want to see them thrive and feeling that.
I think for me, just my personal style, much like my dad, where you get mad, like you're just mad, and then you calm down. You're like, it's okay. And I've really had to temper myself and realize where I'm at. My previous marriage, there were anger issues that I hadn't really dealt with. Um, I got a lot of that. I dealt with age comes wisdom. I was a
Right.
little older, and when I met Renee, she's a little older, and we kind of both walked into this in a much more mature, with our eyes open, realizing what we needed to do. And I knew that I didn't want to repeat the mistakes I'd made when it came to these kids. So I've been fairly cognizant of watching my tongue and watching what I say. And every now and again, angry Hoss would pop out, and then, but honestly, these kids were great because they would like immediately call me on it. And
Yeah.
like, I would say something like, "What'd you just say?" Or "Mom, he just said this," and I'm like, "Yep, yep, you're right. Yeah, you got me." And then
Yeah.
we said, "Okay, look, what I just said probably shouldn't have said. I apologize for that. Now let's find a way to work on this and to figure it
Yeah.
out." But to be honest, those kids were just super kids. I never really had an issue with them. I mean, you've
Mhm.
met both of them. They're just super polite, very nice, very kind, very caring. Um, and just never really bucked authority, never really tried to fight the fact that Renee and I were married or that I was in the picture, and
Yeah.
were very accepting of what we were doing.
Yeah. And do you think though part of it too, because I love what you brought up about when they call you on something that was not correct or was inappropriate or something that you said or something you did may have hurt their feelings, and they call you on that and you have to back up and apologize. How hard is that to do for an adult to a little person? But I'm letting you know, like my experience when I can swallow that ego pill, which is sometimes really hard to do with my kids, but the relationship just opens up and becomes so much more
Yeah.
mutually loving and understanding because you are seeing them, they are seeing you, and you're able to have that honest, authentic back and forth. So
Yeah, I
maybe
understood
that's
it
the
as
reason.
yeah, as we went along, like the the more that honest and open I was with them, the more they responded to that. So like if I was upset about something and blew up about it and then went back and said, hey, probably shouldn't have done that, sorry about
Mhm.
that. Then the next time when I started getting mad, they would catch it and be like, oh, hey, hang on here. So we actually had a very symbiotic relationship. I mean, we worked well together. We grew up together.
Yeah.
It was they kind of knew my limits. They knew my boundary,
Mhm.
where I was going to go and where I wasn't going to go. And I think being steady like that was very important.
Yeah.
Is you they can count on you to react the same way. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of a big,
Consistent, being
yeah.
consistent.
That's kind of a big thing. Consistency is really important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like that steadiness, if you were to say to somebody or someone that's listening that may be struggling with their relationship with their stepchildren and stepping into that role and being like, well, my kids aren't listening. They're not wanting to hear what I have to say. I feel like I'm powerless in this situation. I feel lost. I feel like they don't really want to connect with me. Like, what would be some of the things that you would say to them about from your experience that you've learned maybe the hard way with your stepchildren, or maybe you've learned in a positive way along the way that has worked for you to kind of bridge that gap when things get a little dicey or when it's just not symbiotic? Like, I love that word, symbiotic. But you had to work to get to that point too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is learning to listen, learning to talk to the kids, and valuing what they have to say back to you.
Mm,
When the girl's having a bad day and she's not wanting to listen and do whatever, you're like, hey, what's going on? What are you upset about? And it may be you, it may not be you, maybe something completely different. But if you take the time to listen to what she says and like, hey, it's all good, it's going to be better. A lot of times that back and forth will help you move ahead. And it's one of those things where if your kids, they're not wanting to connect with you, a lot of times it's not you. I mean, it's they're not wanting to connect with anybody. They're wanting. So I always encourage them to go to their mom. They've always been very, very close to the mom. It's like, hey,
mhm.
if you're upset at me and you're mad at me, go talk to mom and tell mom what's going on. And
Yeah,
they would
yeah.
go talk to mom and tell mom, oh, Hoss did this or Hoss did that. And mom was very cool about it. She's like, okay, well, I'll have a talk with him. And then she would. She'd be like, hey,
Mhm.
when you did this, it, upset the kid. They did that, did this and that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, all right. Well, log that for future. Let's not do that again. So
Yeah,
it's
you just need to be aware. Like, some things you honestly didn't like, you haven't been like in their life since they were born,
yeah,
like it's you stepped in. So, I also love what you said about it's sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's something else that's going
yeah,
on too. I think a lot of times, and I can probably speak to the mom standpoint of this, like or the emotional standpoint when our kids are upset and we think, oh my gosh, I must have done something, or oh my gosh, it must be about me. And
yeah,
not, sometimes it's not.
yeah,
Sometimes it's about things that we have no idea about, or things that we went through when we were in elementary school or a high school that we as adults now have forgotten about and overlook as like this is their world, this is their importance, where
yeah,
we're worried about paying the mortgage and paying the car note versus, what the homework situation is
yeah.
or what the sports schedule is and what happened at practice the other day. So,
I just know that watching my kids grow up, that these two kids grow up, like I can't imagine being a child in today's society with the computers and the social media and I mean, they are bombarded with other kids 24/7. You get off school, there's still Facebook and well, they don't use Facebook anymore, but Instagram and all that. Facebook's for old people like us, but Instagram and Snapchat and all that. They are 24/7 immersed in people, in their kids, in their friends, in their their group, and
yeah,
that is a daunting task.
yeah.
So it's we've kind of got to even be more lenient towards listening to them, talk to them,
Mhm.
and make sure you know why you're getting angry when you're getting angry, and if that's really the reason to be getting angry about it.
Yeah, I think it's important. We have to really plug in as parents, no matter if you are a blood parent or a step parent. I mean, we really, in this day and age, if we're going that direction, we have to stay plugged into. I mean, a fine line, you got to give space, but you also got to find that your ears have to be open. I was
Mhm.
like I always think that you got to be aware and observing what's going on around you with
Yeah.
your kids, because I think we obviously, with knowledge comes power, and we may not know how to fix it. And you know what? It's also not our jobs to fix it. I hate to say that because, that's a hard thing for parents, but it's not our jobs to fix it. It's our jobs to stand beside them. It's our job to hold their hand while they walk through it. It's our job to support them and, pat them on the back and say, I'm here for you. I'm walking with you. I can't do it for you, but
And
I will stand beside you.
I am a type A fixer from the get go. I want to fix everybody and fix everything and make everything okay. And I'm going to make mom happy, and I'm going to make the kids happy, and I'm going to make the dogs happy, and everything's going to be fine. And it was a big step. That still
Mhm.
is. I'm still learning to not need to take that on for everything. You
Yeah.
know, Paige is getting married in May, and I just want to, everything's gonna be okay here. Let me take care of all this, and realizing that, she can handle this. She's a pretty smart cookie. She can deal with this, and
Yeah.
to step back and be like, all right, well, I'll show up in a tux and smile.
Yeah, and I think that's hard. I love that you brought that up too, because I think that's a really hard thing for us as parents. Again, whether it's your blood children and you're a bloodline parent, or if you're a step parent, to see them going through these big life, cathartic life experiences and go, all right, I've been there. Oh gosh, I want to let them know this. I want to remind them of that. I want to make sure that they are aware of X, Y, or Z, and how hard that is for us to, like you said it earlier, you got to back up and give space
Yeah.
so that they can have that experience and know and trust that they're going to be okay and that you've done the best job that you can. So, which takes me to the next thing. Let's talk about them as grown-ups and your job, your role now as step parent in their lives. As Jack just turned 20, is that right? Or
Yeah.
21?
He just turned 20.
Yeah. And then Paige is 24. Is that right?
23 right now, I think. Yeah.
I think, yeah. Okay. And she's getting married. Holy
Mhm.
crap.
Yeah.
Like, so we're marching on. How does your
Yeah.
role now as stepdad play into their lives versus when they were at home and you were doing the sports and you were doing the carpools and you were packing the lunches and you were dealing with sick kids and everything that goes into it?
It was honestly a lot easier when they were little. Um, because I mean, they relied on you for everything, and you were there, and I got to, I wouldn't, I drove Paige to school for a couple of years, and I drove Jack to school, and those drives, I wouldn't trade those for anything. That was, my hour a day of just sitting in the car with the kids, and it was a wonderful thing. I don't have that anymore. Jack's up and goes to the gym and comes home and goes to work, and he works second shift, so he's home at midnight and leaves at 3 in the afternoon. And Paige is in Atlanta now, so we don't get to see them very often, and it's kind of a lost puppy thing. And Renee and I kind of wander around like, shouldn't we be at a ball game or something right now? We would
Yeah.
watch your kids play because we didn't have anybody to that was the first fall that we didn't have kids involved in school sports. We just looked at each other like we didn't know what to do. We're like, all we've done since we met on a ball field, all we have done
Right.
since we've been together is go to sporting activities for kids, and it's gone. And we're just like, what do we do now? So
Yeah.
now that the kids are adults, I guess we're playing the waiting game for grandkids or something.
Okay. Okay. But
But
it's an interesting transition right
yeah,
now. I mean, you got to think about like where you were versus where you are now.
yeah.
How does that make you feel? I mean, obviously there's a lot of gratitude and probably a lot of like, I'm so proud of these kids.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, they're both amazing kids. They've both done so well. Jack decided not to go to college. He went to tech school and came out and got an amazing job working for an electric company. And heck, he and two of his buddies are going to Japan at the end of February for 2 weeks to just tour Japan.
Oh, I
And I'm
love
like,
that.
dude, like that's amazing. It's and I don't like. I mean, I like to stand back and watch the kids. Like, hey, we helped guide them to the people they are now.
Mm, mhm.
Their mom was just absolutely amazing with them, and they learned so much from her. And I just kind of pushed them in the right direction and said, here,
Mhm.
let's kind of stay in this general area. And they
Yeah,
both
yeah,
ended up just being amazing kids. I'm so proud of both of them.
yeah. Well, I'm proud of you too. I mean, I think that your role, I mean, you've had to step I mean, you've had to step all around different things. We talk about this too. Like blending families is not an easy thing when you're dealing with the kids going back and forth between one house to another house too, depending upon what's going on with your former marriages, because they have, they have their father from Renee's first marriage, and dealing with the back and forth and what you do with all of that and the relationships, and letting them know that, hey, I'm not your real dad, but I'm stepping in. And like you said
Yeah.
earlier, the bonus dad. So navigating that as well. I mean, we didn't even talk about that, but blending families in that way. I mean, can you speak to what you feel about that and how that
Yeah,
has been for you?
that was always it wasn't a problem. I mean, it was fine. And I encourage the kids to spend as much time with their dad as they can. Um, I have two daughters from my first marriage.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it kind of went off the rails, and I don't get to spend much time with those girls. And I always wished that whoever was in her life would push the girls and say, "Hey, you need to talk to your dad. Go see your dad." So when I had that chance on my side, I'm like, "Hey, look, he's your dad. You need to go spend." And I mean, I have nothing but respect for the fact that he's their dad, and push them. Hey, go spend some time and talk to him. When they were kids, they'd spend some time with him and come back, and then we have kind of a detox for a day or two to
No, you
blend them
figure out
back
where
in.
you are again. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was always kind of an interesting thing. And
Mhm.
and Jack now spends time on his own as an adult, goes and spends
Mhm.
time with his dad, which is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally encourage it and say, that's your dad. You will never replace your dad. It doesn't
Right.
matter. I will always be Hoss. I will always be here. I'm your mom's husband. I will be here with your mom forever, but that's your dad. And so
Yeah.
go do your thing with them, and I will never stand in the way of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what being a stepdad has meant to you and how that has developed maybe more of this patient side of you, because when I hear you talking, you're like, well, I've really done I've worked at doing this in this way. I've worked at being this in this capacity. And those are some things like giving space to your kids, stepping back and not jumping into discipline, knowing that like that may is not my
Yeah.
position in this, and understanding that like that takes a lot of self-awareness, maybe patience for sure, and understanding. Like, so talk to me a little bit about that for you.
Um, it really was. It's been an eye-opening experience for me. Kind of taking in mind some of the mistakes I made with my daughters, knowing how that ended up and where that went, and not ever wanting
Mhm.
to make those mistakes again and wanting to correct that. I have made a concerted effort to not do those things. The anger thing, the flying off the handle, this just tried to be very concentrated and focused on what we're doing with this, my stepkids. It's just so odd. I never call them stepkids. It's actually when Jack would introduce me to this is my stepdad, and it always just kind of hit me weird. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I am, but it sounds kind of odd to hear.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they're just my kids. They're not my stepkids.
Yeah.
They're my kids.
Mm.
But yeah, I've learned a lot of patience. It's
Mhm.
really a big deal where just take a breath, stop, think about what you're about to say, think about what you're about to do, and then step into it and give the kids that a break as well. When they say or do something, you just kind of look at them like, really? Is that what you want to say or do? And,
Yeah.
I said, take a look at the world around you. That's my big
Yeah.
one. Pay attention to the world around you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really what
That's
you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great piece of advice for all of us right there. I mean, when anger hits, like, and I think about that as a parent when I just woo, like flush with anger with something that my kid has either said or done or how they've reacted where I'm involved. And I just I have to take a beat and I got to go, ooh, take a breath. All right. Where does this fit? Like, what
Yeah.
is the context of this? Where's it coming from? And me as an adult and as the leader, I guess, if you will, as one of their parents, I got to be emotionally responsible in that way. So I think you, like you said it earlier, with wisdom, with age comes wisdom,
Yeah.
right? And the things that we learn along the way. And I think sometimes when we have a second opportunity to parent or second opportunity for a relationship, things always look different. Things
Mhm.
always are different because this is a different experience. It's another opportunity that we have, and we're taking that opportunity and seizing it. So if I look at your position from that perspective, I mean, it just makes so much wonderful, beautiful sense to me about the person that you are and where you are and the concerted efforts that you make to really be a part of these kids' lives, but without being overbearing in their
Yeah.
lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's I've been given this second chance. To me, that's really what it is, God said, I'm not done with you yet. You still have a purpose. Here are two kids that need a hand. And it was a second chance I was given, and I wasn't about to ruin it. And I've done everything I can to take advantage of being given this opportunity. And I love them to death. I mean, they're my kids, and I love my daughters, and I have four kids. I tell everybody I've got two daughters from my first marriage, and I've got a daughter and son from my second, and
Yeah.
they're all equal in my eyes. They're all four of my kids.
Yeah. I love that. I love it, Haas. Tell me a little bit about what you wish you would have maybe done differently in the role of step parent with your kids now, with your step kids now.
Um, I don't know. Everything seemed to work out pretty well. I mean, I we went to everything, we did everything. They were just great kids. I mean, I never really had an issue with them.
Yeah.
As far as a step parenting role, I got lucky. I mean, I got just as lucky as those kids got. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
found each
Aw.
other, and it all kind of worked.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You got just as lucky as they did. That's really nice. That's a great exchange, and that's so meaningful
Yeah.
because I feel like from earlier when we were talking about that relationship and setting that kind of setting the seed for the relationship and understanding that like I got to give space, I got to be aware and what that all looks like and navigating all of that. That just makes complete sense. That yeah, you're a
Yeah,
gift. You're
it
a gift.
was, I guess, one of the benefits of growing up as a stepchild and seeing that dynamic. And I had a brother who's 7 years younger than I am, and he was my dad and my stepmom's natural born child.
Yeah.
So I joke with everybody. We won't get into my family dynamic because we don't have time. I have three sisters and two brothers, and I'm an only child. That's how my background.
Wait.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's like riddle me this.
My mom was married four times. Dad was married twice. They're all half brothers and sisters.
Okay,
Uh,
got it.
so I got to see a whole lot of how stepchildren were treated and how different
Mhm.
relationships came in and out and how that played out. And I got to observe and say, well, I don't like that. I like that. That's not what I'm going to do that. So when it came time for me to step into that role, I'd seen a whole lot of that, and I knew what I didn't want to do. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do, and I tried not to do any of that.
Yeah. Well, that's powerful. When you know even that piece of it, wow, what can that do to change the trajectory and the experience for
Yeah.
your not only yourself, but everybody around you?
You hear these horror stories about awful step parents, and we hear from day one, Cinderella's horrible stepmom, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
we're raised with the fact that step parents are horrible. TV, movies,
Mhm.
all these stories, and it's always the horrible step parent, and don't want to be that. So I
Well,
made
it
a
doesn't
conscious
have to
effort
be the
not to be
truth.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the reality. It doesn't have to be the truth.
No,
It's really what I hear you saying through this whole conversation is that, I mean, you have intentional effort that you've put into this role
yeah,
and that you do not take it lightly and that it's extremely meaningful for you to build these relationships in the most positive and the most loving, but yet most respectful way, which
yes,
is
absolutely,
which is great. And that's possible. It's possible for all of us to do it, but it can be very challenging. It can have definite moments of like, oof. Like, I think I was telling somebody the other day, and you said that it was a lot easier when they were at home versus now
yeah,
when they're adults, like as being a parent in general. I was just talking to a friend last week about that who has young children, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, one has got this cold, one has got this due at school, and they forgot about that." I mean, just all the things that I remember going through
yeah,
when my kids were little. And she's like, you are so lucky. Your kids are at college now and everything is easier. And I listened to her because she needed to vent, right?
yeah.
She needed to be heard. But then I said, I'm just going to let you know, it's just a whole different element of hard. Like it's
Yeah.
just a whole different element of challenge. And I think if we can adjust our perspective along the way and understand that it's just life and we're going to do the best that we can in the moments we're in, then we're going to give ourselves some grace and maybe let ourselves off the hook when another tough patch kind of arrives, if you will.
Yeah. And it's going from being a parent to being a co-adult. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not really your parent anymore. I'm kind of now your mentor. You know, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what I've gone into now, and it's been difficult because Jack's still living at home,
Mm.
um, which is great, but you want to treat him like he's a 15-year-old kid, but he's a 20-year-old man, and
Yeah.
trying to find that that point is hard.
Yeah.
Paige got out. She left to go to college, went to Alabama, and never looked back. And she's doing her own thing, which is awesome, and I'm super proud of her. Jack will get there. It's just right now, it's kind of it's a the relationship has changed,
Yeah.
and he is pushing for more change, while mom and I are kind of dragging our heels in, like, no, you're still the baby, stay at the house. And he's 6'4" and a gym rat, and he shows up, but he's like, I'm not staying in the house. Like, all right, dude.
Well, that's so it's crazy because you're so right. They come to a point where you're like, you are still a parent, but I love that you said mentor. It's you need to be a parent, but you need to be a mentor. And I will tell you, like my experience with both of my girls, they want to be like our relationship is changing to the point where we are friends and we really enjoy being around each other. But there's times when they need me still to be their mom and like love on them in that mom way. And golly, let's just talk about they don't always know how to express that. So as a parent, you're going, all right, what am I seeing now? Okay, where's the step in now? When does that switch? So I totally relate to that with you and Renee being like, oh, like we see you, but oh, hold on. So like, what do I do? It's that push and that pull that we have to do with our kids as they age.
Yeah, yeah, it's something I guess I didn't really expect to kind of be like that. And you know that eventually you've got to cut the cord and
Mhm,
let them go,
mhm.
but you're never really ready to, and you'll never really cut the cord. I mean, you'll kind of play it out a little faster, but you're never going to cut that thing.
Oh, that's a great metaphor. It's a great visual. Yeah, you just let the kind of let the reel out a little bit, let
Yeah,
the slack and the line out a little bit more.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. You're always gonna be tied to these kids. I love that. They're not your birth children, but my gosh, they're your kids.
Yeah, that's. I mean, she's not mine. What's the saying? She's not mine by blood, but she's mine by heart.
Mhm.
It's both those kids. I mean, those are my kids, and that's it. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Hmm. What would you say to somebody navigating maybe a hard time right now in being a step parent or even a step kid that's listening to this
Yeah,
and saying, dude, like you just don't get it. Like that's great. You had a great relationship with your kids and my step parent is that person that we see on TV. And how do I even like if I wanted a relationship, how do I even do that? Whether you're from the parent standpoint or from the kid standpoint, like understandably, your relationship with Jack and Paige has been so different. But from what you've said about your past and seeing what you didn't want it to be, maybe you can speak from that perspective and that experience.
well, it's for us. It's communication. It's feeling comfortable enough to share why you're upset, to share what's bothering you, and being mature enough on the other side to hear that, to take that, and is like, oh, all right. Well, then when I do these things, it's causing you fear. I mean, having a child who is living in fear is, I can't imagine living that way,
Mhm,
or being a child trying to live like that.
mhm.
There has to be somebody to talk to. You have to be a safe space.
Yeah,
If you are a step parent and you and your stepchild are not getting along, there's a reason, more
yeah,
than likely,
yeah,
and you need to be mature enough to step in and, hey, what's going on? What can I do to make this better? And as a kid, you can't force your parent to listen, but I bet
yeah,
there's somebody who you could talk to. Maybe your birth parent on that side. If
yeah.
and say, Mom, when my stepdad does this or whatever, it's important to be able to talk to somebody about it. Maybe even a counselor or
Mhm.
somebody at school, or we put so much on teachers. I don't want to, hey, go talk to your teacher. I mean, there's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
They're rocks for so many people I know. Yeah.
it was amazing that the school that our kids went to, the teachers at that school, like
Mhm.
they knew the story, they knew what was going on, and they were just as involved with the kids. Like every time we go to school to pick them up, whatever, we get in a conversation about things, and kids are doing great. And it's like they were paying attention to what was going on. I was always so impressed with that and how involved the teachers were in the kids' lives and knowing what was going on. That's why I never once regretted writing that check every month to
Yeah,
pay
to
for
the
that
to the
tuition.
school, yeah,
Yeah.
right, for sure. There were months that were very hard for us, I know, but I will tell you the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, and I think it boils down to, like what you said, communication. I love that you said that, communication on both sides and being open enough to set our ego and our judgment kind of not in front of us, but over to the side so that we can actually see each other as people that are having feelings and that are really, maybe struggling with something that we're not seeing because our ego and our anger or our frustration is so big in front of us. So communicating and being aware, like the teachers at that school. I mean, they're just aware. They have their antenna up, you know?
Well,
I
that
love
was, that was the thing, the kids at first. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall. I weigh 200 and X amount of pounds. I grew up, I was in the Navy. I was a cowboy. I worked on ranches. I'm from Wyoming. I'm a big, tough guy. The kids figured out right away, like he's a teddy bear. There's nothing tough about this guy. And,
Aw.
and that was always the thing was they would, just give me a bad time about it, joke about it, kid about it, and Paige got into a thing where she still does it, where her goal for Father's Day is to buy a T-shirt that makes me cry. You know,
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Gosh,
So
that's amazing.
she bought a T-shirt, said the world's greatest dad jokes or great dad joke champ or something like that, and it was the first piece of clothing that I ever owned that had the word dad on it,
Oh,
and I
Hans.
bawled. I cried so hard, and from that point on, every Father's Day, it's what am I going to get that's going to make Hoss cry this year? And I love it. It makes me laugh. I love those kids so much.
Yeah. Oh, what's been the best thing about being a step parent for you?
Um, the just seeing how they react, just knowing that I've had a second chance and I've made
Mhm.
a conscious effort to be a better person,
Mm.
and seeing it play out with them, and knowing that I've done what I set out to do, that I really am a better person than I was. And I look at those two kids, I'm like, yeah, I did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah. And you're a better person because of them being in your life, you
Yeah,
know?
they're kind of my redemption story, really.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Haas. Oh, man. Thank you so much for your vulnerability today and God and sharing
Sure.
so much of that very, very special space with us and talking really integrally about the challenge of it and what it is involved for you and the good stuff about it too. Again, so glad you said that. It doesn't have to be a negative. Step parenting does not have to be a negative. Is it challenging? Absolutely. Does it come with a lot of ups and downs? For sure.
It
It's
has blessed me beyond measure.
yeah, yeah, and it's taught you perspective and taught you awareness and taught you, communication and taught you listening, all the things. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I love everything about, like, our conversation today, Haas, I really do.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yay. Yeah. Well, tell Renee I said hello
I will.
and, Jack, the 6'4" beastly dude from the
Yeah.
gym, like, yeah, just we gotta let the line out and let him be.
Little bit. Yeah.
I know, so hard to do, but oh gosh, but love it though. All
Yeah.
right, well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and a great weekend, and, yeah, and we're gonna send you and my husband on a historical vacation
I'm all
together.
about it. We're gone. Thanks so much, Don.
You're so welcome. Thanks, Haas.